Hi everybody, welcome to this training. I've called it Local Market Recovery. How to adapt, how to price, and how to promote your experiences to the domestic market. And by the domestic market, I'm talking about the local market. So finding customers within your local vicinity, your local destination. I'm talking about the intrastate market, finding customers within your state, and the interstate market, so finding customers from around your country, because the reality is a lot of us are doing it very hard at the moment. International visitors have dried up completely, and we have no idea when we'll start to see tourists from other corners of the world back in our destination once again. So it's really important that we're able to pivot right now, and we're able to find customers from other places, and those other places are going to be local customers, intrastate customers, and interstate customers. So the intention of this training is to make it really short, make it really sharp, make it really actionable, make it result orientated, and to get you selling your experiences, your tours, your activities to customers within the local intrastate and interstate market as quickly as possible. So in this training, I want to cover the following things. I want to first of all look at who you're going to actually serve and how do you find a relevant market segment. We're then going to dive into the research phase and proving your concept, and I guess how to almost guarantee that when you get to the point of creating your experiences and marketing and promoting and selling your experiences, you're almost guaranteed that people are going to buy from you. I want to have a look at a really effective way to iron out the creases once you've been through the research phase with a really well-planned familiarization trip. Pricing, how do you price for locally geared experiences? We'll dive right into that. A pricing 101, I'll break it down for you. I want to look at copy, so how to write content that hits the mark. You know, when you've got to sort of shift your focus from the international market that need things to sound a certain way. You've pivoted and you need to be able to write copy, marketing collateral, tour descriptions, social posts, a whole range of other things that really speak to a different market. So how do you do that effectively? Marketing 101, the kind of things that you'll need to do to sell, promote and sell your experiences. So paid ads, we're going to look at optimizing your local listings, local SEO and keywords, online platforms that you can use, the best of the best online platforms that you can use to sell your experiences, and local collaborations. Next, real world examples. I thought it'd be really valuable to show you in case studies some of the people out there, tour operators, activity experience operators that are pivoting successfully and doing some really great things in serving the local market. And finally, keeping people safe. One of the things that came out of a survey that we did recently to our tour and activity community was that one of the major challenges, one of the biggest considerations was how to keep people safe. So we'll dive into that and give you some tips, best practice on how you can do that and put people's minds at ease. But anyway, let's dive right into the first step. So what I've done is I've just added a bit of a time estimate to each step. I want to give you a sense of how you should be tracking, how long it's probably going to take you to get from where you are now to the point where you're actually selling your experiences and ringing the cash register. So this first step I would just anticipate would take about a day to identify who you're going to serve. So you need to work out who that is. And this is a time to brainstorm, to throw some ideas around, based around which groups of people you think might have needs right now that you could fill. So I really encourage you to think outside the box and start by compiling a list of potential market segments. And many of these will be very much specific to the kind of experiences you run, but a lot of these segments might offer opportunities to many different types of tour or activity operators. So when you're asking yourself, who could you serve within those local, intrastate, interstate markets? Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but here's some ideas for you. So you've got the mature age or over 60s market. Now, I want to stress, first of all, there'll be a lot of buts with every one of these market segments that I identify, and that's okay because there's enough to go around in the way I see it. You don't have to appeal to every single person within that market segment. So mature age of the over 60s market. Now, traditionally, they would travel many of them would travel a number of times a year overseas. It might be one big trip, it might be two or three smaller international trips. Now, at the moment, they're not going to be taking those trips. They're going to be fearful for their health. They might have issues with getting insurance. They might have pressure from family members about traveling. They may just obviously not be able to travel right now because of the restrictions in place and the movement of people overseas. So that market, there's many people within that market segment that are going to be bored, frustrated. They look forward to their annual overseas trips, and they're going to be, and they've got the budget to spend. They're saving money that they would have spent on those trips, so they're going to be looking for something to do locally. Now, some might say, yeah, but they aren't going to have as much money right now because they've been smashed on the stock market, and their net wealth has taken a hit. That's very, very true for some, but not for all. So as I say again, you don't need to appeal to all. There's plenty to go around, and you just need to, I guess, resonate or appeal to some of that market segment, and to say, yes, they're speaking to me. What they offer is exactly what I need. They're solving those pains, they're satiating those desires that I have. Next, international students. There's a huge number, I know in my country, in Australia right now, that were here pre-COVID. That will be the same in all destinations, and there's a lot of international students that aren't working their part-time jobs at the moment. They're bored, they're cooped up, they are feeling probably lonely, they're desperate to get out and meet people, do things with their friends again. A lot of them are supported by their families back at home. They've got money to spend, and so there's a big opportunity there with international students. Now, I spoke about this one just a few minutes ago, and we're going to really dive into this one in depth a little later, but the corporate market, local business. Now, a lot of local businesses have been working remotely. It's really important for a business to come together, to put their arms around each other and come together as a team. So when that happens, when they are back together in the one place, when they are allowed to congregate together, things like team building or morale boosting experiences are going to be really, really important. And I see local businesses really investing in their people to get people back on track, aligned, incentivized, motivated, so there's going to be opportunities there for experiences, for activities that will really appeal to local business. Family groups with young kids. We've all been cooped up. If you've got young kids, I do. There's been, well, look, I'm very lucky. I live in a place where there's a beach across the road. I've got plenty of space for the kids to run wild, but a lot of people aren't as fortunate. And when restrictions are eased, it's going to be pivotal, I think, for families to get together, get out, do some things together as a family, have some fun. So there's going to be opportunities there. And following on from that, couples. So, there's been a lot of time spent together, and I'm sure there's a lot of husbands and wives and couples that are desperate to have some special time away from the kids and do something nice together, just the two of them. Recent milestones that need celebrating, 50th, 60th, 70th birthdays, and wedding anniversaries, all of those things that happened in the last 2 or 3 months that weren't celebrated. Big opportunities there for people that would like to have a bit of a delayed celebration. Expats, I've got friends living in places like Bangkok, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I had a conversation with a tour operator in Bangkok just a couple of days ago who was a bit down in the dumps about their business, and they just couldn't identify any opportunities with the local market. This is one I proposed to them. They got quite excited about it. There's a lot of expats that are stuck in plenty of places around the world that would be a really good segment to target. Students, university or school groups. High school's back on, university classes are back on. You might have students who study an apprenticeship in pastry making, or you might have high school students that study food science. You might have university students or high school students that study outdoor education. A lot of opportunity there to propose something that enhances their learning. Schools, universities are always looking for ways to set themselves apart from the rest, to make their classes more interesting, to make their courses more appealing. Elderly groups, they've had a really tough time. Of course, here, safety and health is a big consideration, but as things start to ease and a lot of destinations become, as Australia is, effectively COVID-free, then programs, entertainment activities for the elderly could be some real opportunities there. Kids programs, after-school programs, school holiday programs, educational. Now, I've seen some really great examples of tour operators that run a niche experience, and that they It might be photography and wildlife tours that really cater for the international market. Well, that's obviously not on the cards at the moment. So they've sort of gone out to their market and they've created more educational learning type experiences for their local market. So not just a wonderful wildlife and nature and environment and scenic experience, but actually a key takeaway. So for the local market, from this experience, you're going to learn how to A, B, and C, and you're going to come away having learnt a new skill. So that's really important as well. Bachelorette events, wedding parties, those that are upcoming, also those that might have been planned over the last few months and had to be cancelled or postponed. Clubs, groups, societies in your niche or niche. So if you run foodie tours or coffee lovers experiences, a whole range of other things, bird watching, kayaking. Well, what kind of clubs or groups or societies are there out there, both online and in the real world, in your niche or niche that you could tap into and potentially create something whereby previously they might not have done something with you because it was more geared towards international tourists. But if you could repackage, reinvent it, adapt it, tweak it, and offer something that really speaks to them, they say, yes, I would, that solves a problem of mine, that satiates a real desire, then there's a real opportunity there. Sporting teams and sporting clubs. Now, I used to play state league soccer. I did up until about 3 or 4 years ago, and twice a year we had buys or rounds where we didn't have a game that week, and our coach would organise for a team bonding experience. It might have just been, a team dinner. It might have been a night of the movies. It might have been something a little bit more creative and a little bit more. Well, I think we did an escape room experience one year. Well, there's real opportunities there. Not only that, but a lot of these sporting teams, sporting clubs have been shut down at the moment. People are removed from their community, their team, and they're going to come back together soon. I think morale boosting, team bonding, those kind of things are going to be even more important. So really great opportunities, I think, that would present themselves there. And lastly, if you're creating something for people with a social conscience, a community project or an environmental project, learning, rolling your sleeves up, getting involved, making yourself feel good, making a difference, real opportunity there as well. And lastly, social committees throughout a whole range of organisations and government springs to mind, worth exploring too. Okay, so that's my take on the local market, the different segments of the market. Now, that's by no means an exhaustive list of all the opportunities that are out there. It's very much destination specific, and I'm sure if you really think about it, if you put your thinking cap on, do some brainstorming, you might come up with a whole range of other potential market segments that could work for you. But hopefully that's got your creative juices flowing. So the next thing I would recommend doing is choosing your top 3. So of all of those market segments, you might come up with a list of 15, 20, it might only be 10. Choose your top 3. Put them into some kind of order as to where you think the most potential lies. And to do this, you're probably going to have to go with your gut to a certain extent. But what I would then do is start with one market segment and tackle that segment properly. I'm asking you to choose your top 3 because who knows, you might go through the first few steps of this process and you might discover that the market segment that you've actually chosen just isn't actually the market segment for you. It's just not going to work for whatever reason, maybe a range of reasons, and you need to go back to the drawing board and start the process again. And I've suggested taking your top 3 at this point because once you've had success with one segment, you should actually be able to, if you choose to, be pretty easily able to rinse and repeat. Choose another market segment and then another after that and another after that. So I would recommend that you choose your top 3 to get started.